Hi, Mark. Top local lead generation in Vancouver with Mr. Bernie Pollock of Pollock Automotive in Vancouver. Pollock are 16-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver. How are you doing today, Bernie?
Doing very well.
So we're going to talk about another Mercedes-Benz, another Merc, a GL350 that you had to replace the engine on, a 2010. That seems kind of early. What happened?
Very early. Basically, the engine seized up, and that's why we replaced the engine.
So aren't diesels supposed to last kind of a long time? How did this happen on a vehicle that's not got that many years on it?
Well, it's not only did this vehicle not have a lot of years, it had very little mileage too. It only had 50,000 kilometers, so that's what's even more shocking. But yeah, you're right. Diesels are supposed to last a long time, and they do. This vehicle, however, did not have its oil changed regularly enough. Maybe never. It's hard to say. According to the client, he had changed it, but obviously not enough. And what happened is the oil had basically turned to sludge, and the engine got destroyed.
Wow. How often are oil changes recommended on the Mercedes diesel?
Usually it's around 15,000 kilometers, but they do have an electronic monitoring system, and it will remind you of when you need to change your oil. So if you only drive, say, 5,000 kilometers a year, that would be like 3 years between oil changes, which is far too long. So they also put a time frame in those reminders. But really, no matter what happens, as an owner of a vehicle like this, you really need to be responsible for it and go, a year's up. I've only driven, 3,000 or 5,000 kilometers. I just need to change the oil anyway. So that's kind of the key is let time be your guide as well as mileage.
So tell us more about this engine repair. Did you find anything else interesting when you were doing the work?
Well, there was a lot, and I'm going to share a few pictures here. So let's go to the screen share, and I'll put some pictures up. Now, is that visible, Mark?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. And I'll just maximize the size here. So just this is just an example of some of the parts and pieces of the engine repair job. This is an extremely complicated engine, and this isn't even all the bits and pieces. I mean, the engine block we have sitting on an engine stand. So there's on this pile on the floor here, there's the flywheel. All the fuel injectors are in the left side and the bottom. There's turbocharger ducts. There's the wiring harness is that big black thing lying on the floor there with a lot of electrical plugs to connect. There's a turbocharger near that piece. There's just a variety of pieces. So I'm just showing you this to scare you. If you're a person who owns a vehicle like this, don't change your oil regularly because it just makes a lot of sense. Now, let's see what else we have here. Go through some of these pictures because they're a little out of order for what I wanted to show. So this is the view of what we found when we took the engine oil pan off. And this was after draining the oil for a while. And we'd actually tried to resurrect this engine by running some fresh oil through it. So this is the sludge that was in the bottom of the engine oil. You can't really appreciate it unless you actually stick your hands in it. But this is like goopy tar. And I think even the least experienced car drivers knows that engine oil is a very horrible kind of compound. So it never looks like this. Here's another view. This is the bottom of the engine with the oil pan off, and that's basically just the whole bottom is just covered in a sludgy, tarry substance. Just a few other interesting things we found. I mean, carbon buildup is a common problem on modern diesel engines because they use an EGR system. It's an exhaust gas recirculation. It reduces emissions, but what it does is it redirects exhaust gas back into the combustion chambers, and that will cause carbon deposits. But this vehicle, with only 50,000 kilometers, had just severe carbon deposits. We never find these on a Mercedes diesel. Sometimes it's found on Volkswagens after like 200,000 kilometers, but this is just an insane amount of sludge. On the top, you can see that there's a hole that's blocked. That's actually called a swirl valve, and that's the valve open. That's the valve closed. But I mean, the amount of airflow through these ports is very, very minimal. So we spent a lot of extra time on this engine cleaning these ports out to make sure the engine was breathing properly. So even if this thing had not seized up, it would not have been performing very well. There's just some more sludge. I mean, this is part of the intake passageway. The diameter of this tube has been reduced by at least a third. So that has a big effect on engine performance. Again, there's our picture of all the parts. So I'll just stop screen share here, and we'll get back to our conversation.
All right, so it was a mess. Kind of reminds me of that for maybe the older folks in our audience, the old Fram oil filter thing, pay me now or pay me later. Would you say this repair illustrates that statement?
Very well. The thing is interesting that of that statement says you can pay me now or pay me later kind of insinuates that, you know, you can change your oil or you could use their quality oil filter and pay a little extra for it, or you'll pay later. But that almost implies to me like it's a, you know, a 2 + 2 = 4 kind of situation. But in this case, with this Mercedes, 50,000 kilometers, should have had about 5 oil changes. That's about, you know, on this vehicle, because it uses special synthetic oil and it's a time-consuming job, it's about $1,000 operation. But the repair bill for this job was well over $20,000. So that's definite. It definitely makes the changing of oil a lot cheaper. Plus, the owner was out of the vehicle for a couple of months, and you know, all the extra inconvenience. So, it really does pay to change your oil. Use good quality oil filters. Change it regularly. Same with all your other fluids, because it really does save you money.
So, in the final analysis, when you had to change the block, is that what you got a new block for the vehicle? Is that why it took so long?
Yeah, we got a rebuilt engine block. It's also for this vehicle. The other thing quite inconvenient is that it was surprising because there's a lot of these Mercedes engines around. We service a lot of them. They're found in these you know, in several Mercedes vehicles. They're found in Sprinter vans. They're found in Jeep diesel engine. Jeep uses this engine, but it's a very difficult engine to find. There's nobody around Vancouver who would rebuild this engine. We have to actually order it from the U.S. From a rebuilder that does specialize in Sprinter engines, or either that or from the Mercedes dealer. But that I don't even want to tell you the price of that one. It's just insane. So you know, so it's either buy it from Mercedes, try to find a used one. Even a used one, there was nothing available. So you know, the rebuilt one, it actually runs very well. So this should give with proper oil changes, this should give the owner years and years and years of good service.
So, if you're looking for repairs on your Mercedes-Benz diesel vehicles, the guys to call are Pollock Automotive. Book an appointment, 604-327-7112. They're experts in diesel repairs. They have all the right equipment to do it. Or check out their website, pollockautomotive.com. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you, Mark.